As a GBS leader, how do you envision AI agents enabling end-to-end finance autonomy? What early use cases do you find most promising?
Sure, thanks, Purvi. So, to what Pallav and Akshat alluded, right? I think all of us are still scratching the surface, is what I feel from an AI perspective. Having said that, we're sitting on a gold mine of opportunity. And GBS cutting across all the processes, including finance majorly, will play a vital role. For me, the vision, if I can maybe summarize in a sentence, AI agents engaging in end-to-end autonomous finance operation. I think that's what I really want to see. I don't think it's very far off, right? Having said that, in the GBS world, when I call it a gold mine, any process you touch, whether it is rule-based or even slight decision making, everything can be, moved into the AI world. So I think what will be relevant is how do we have the right set of data. I think super important would be clean data. Without having the right set of data, we will never be able to achieve what we set out for. From a few examples, right, which probably could resonate. One is, of course, when you're talking about autonomous finance, anything that relates to preparing, validating, and posting, say, journal entries, right? It's a very easy one. When you're talking of reconciliations or matching up, two different sheets, it's again an easy one. In the travel and expense space, a lot of our agents, when I'm talking of human agents, have been doing audits. Do we really need them to do it? We don't. So it'll be the continuous audit. But I think more than audits, it'll also be about fraud detection and compliance, which will be super critical and which will be a continuous and iterative process that the agents will drive and throw up anomalies that the exception management team should more or less focus on. So I think tremendous opportunity for sure. Being in GBS, I think we could probably influence a lot beyond finance as well.
In GBS environments, how are AI agents changing the way teams operate? What new roles or skills do you see emerging?
I think going back to the earlier point that I was making, all the routine tasks can move into the AI world, irrespective, right? Now, what we're really staring at is the autonomy of operations. Can the AI agent create its own trigger, do the next step in terms of preparing it, and also executing the transaction? I think that's how we want to run it. Now, when we say this, typically anything that our current existing workforce has been doing is more or less eliminated, right? Now, having said that, does it mean it'll be only AI agents who will operate? The answer is no. AI agents will complement the way we operate. And it is super important that we reskill and upskill our resources. Now, you can call it, and to the slide in the first session that we saw, there were different new roles that got created, right? P2P orchestrator, invoice processing orchestrator, and strategist and all of that. So for me, what would remain, irrespective of the way you want to call them, what would remain is, let's take an example maybe, so that we understand this better. Today, we have a compliance coordinator kind of a role when it comes to, say, the expense management, right? What would change in the new world is, you will probably have a digital risk controller kind of a role, wherein the AI agent does all the analysis, throws up the relevant insights for this risk controller to evaluate, explore, and take decisions and take actions. Now, actions could be, as big as policy changes to, fixing more controls within the system. It's ever evolving. How do we train our people to kind of ensure that they are up to speed, and how do we make them more relevant so that it's more about decision making that we will have to end up with rather than doing the routine tasks? I think that's how it'll probably come up and shape up.
How does agentic AI enable GBS to shift from cost center operations to growth enabling business value creation?
All of us have seen the GBS and the GCCs of the world evolve, right? We initially always looked at the GBSs of the world as cost arbitrage. But I think gone are the days. We are more or less value creators. We are more or less strategic partners. And AI will surely augment each of this effort in being able to create value for the organization, because I think this will help us move at a very fast pace. So clearly there'll be a tremendous shift. There'll be autonomy in execution. We expect real-time decision-making to come in. We expect to be the backbone of all the processes, more or less, from a GCC perspective. We being the center of excellence, we'll be able to influence more from deployment of agentic AIs or Gen AIs or the AIs of the world, because we understand processes better. We own the processes. I think with that, it'll be super, super critical for GBSs to step forward, or rather step up, and see how they can actually make a difference for the organization and help the CXOs deliver what they are expected to.
So the question is, if you had to pick one finance process where agentic AI will have the biggest impact in the next 24 months, which one do you think it is and why?
So I think there's no process. Any transactional process can be converted. And I think the three key tenets to making sure this is a success is, we spoke about data, we spoke about standardization. The other thing that I would want to add is the digital landscape. I think that is super important. If you have disparate systems, it'll always be very difficult to do it. So I think if we are able to have these in place, any process which is transactional should go into the AI world.